Very good evening. You're watching the Newshour special edition with me, Krtisween Walia. And well, viewers, the 1999 Kargil war is one that not only our armed forces, but each and every Indian will always hold close to their hearts. A war waged by Pakistan, which India will never forget. And today, the chief architect of the Kargil war, the then Pakistan Army Chief Pervez Musharraf, passed away in Dubai after prolonged illness at the age of 79. He's the same man who reportedly vowed to occupy Kargil in 1999 in response to the 1984 retaliation via Operation Meghdoot, which was launched by India in response to Pakistan Army's intrusions into Kargil back then as well. The same man today is being garnered with praises from some in India. Earlier today, Congress MP Shashi Tharoor tweeted in praise of Pervez Musharraf. Ironically, he called the architect of the Kargil war a real force of peace. PDP President Mehbooba Mufti took it a step further by claiming that he genuinely tried to address the Kashmir issue and wanted a solution according to the wishes of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. This is how BJP though has hit out at the select few remembering Musharraf for his good work, calling it a rerun of being blinded by their love for Pakistan to insult our brave hearts.
Congress party is hailing Pervez Musharraf, the same Pervez Musharraf who was a dictator, who was the architect of the Kargil misadventure, who spilled innocent blood. This shows their mindset of pro-Pakistan propaganda and parasti.
शशि थरूर साहब को एक बार करगिल का इतिहास वापस पढ़ लेना चाहिए.
कांग्रेस का पाकिस्तान प्रेम ऐसी जब घटनाएं होती हैं तो झलकता है. तो भारत को किस प्रकार से नीचा दिखाया जाए, ये कांग्रेस की एक परंपरा है.
Captain Vikram Batra, Captain Manoj Pandey, Captain Anuj Nair and scores of our braves who sacrificed their lives for us, for you and I, to protect our motherland have been mocked today. Because these tweets have gone beyond mere condolences. They have all become all about singing praises for the man on whose hand is the blood of 527 of our Kargil bravehearts. Here's more on what this ecosystem though is forgetting. Not only did under Pervez Musharraf's leadership, Pakistan fought the Kargil war, Musharraf also admitted that under his command, the intelligence services trained terrorists in Lashkar and Jaish-e-Mohammed, the terror groups that were behind both the 26/11 terror attacks where 166 civilians were killed and the Pulwama attack where 40 of our CRPF personnel lost their lives. Today, Kargil war veterans and their families are questioning those singing praises for Pervez Musharraf.
जनरल परवेज मुशर्रफ वो मानवता के लिए अच्छा व्यक्ति नहीं था और न ही वो शांति प्रिय व्यक्ति था. लोगों को मैं कहना चाहता हूं जो उनके समर्थन में बात कर रहे हैं, तो मैं उनको ये कहना चाहता हूं कि आप अपने उन देश के 527 नौजवानों के घरों को जरा देख लीजिए जिन्होंने आपके लिए, इस राष्ट्र के लिए अपने घर के दीपक को बुझा दिया. तो इस तरह की जो बातें करनी, टीवी पे बैठ करके आकर के डिबेट कर लेना, कुछ भी ट्वीट कर देना, तो ये एक मानवता के लिए, राष्ट्र हित के लिए बिल्कुल भी ठीक नहीं है.
It's a very sad commentary, and that a politician of stature of Shashi Tharoor giving such loose statement. It is really very sad, and Pervez Musharraf, he himself had crafted this misadventure, keeping his own government, Nawaz Sharif, in dark, and he had planned it very well. But unfortunately, as it happens, that all operations of Pakistan are very poorly executed.
I'm really surprised and amazed to read the tweet of Shri Shashi Tharoor, with due respect, that he is trying to find a man of peace in Musharraf. It's amazing how political expediency makes a man change his opinion like Mr. Shashi Tharoor. We should never, ever try to bring politics into our state's facts.
As for the Congress, it has instead chosen to question the then BJP government under Vajpayee, asking it why it chose to hold peace talks with Pervez Musharraf.
The first they should condemn Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Kargil, if Musharraf was responsible for Kargil on infiltration and terrorism, then why did Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee extend the hand of friendship? Why did he invite him? Why did he take initiative to have a peace with him? Why was there negotiation with him? They are responsible. They were in the power at that time. So the first they should question the patriotism or whatever you may see, the foreign policy of Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee then.
On that note, let's quickly open this up. On the Newshour this evening, we have Lieutenant General S.K. Dua, defence expert and former Chief of Integrated Defence Staff, joining us on this special edition. We also have spokesperson of the BJP, Tuhin Sinha, along with author Ratan Sharda, political analyst Majid Haidari, Congress leader Kamru Chowdhury and political analyst Ravi Srivastav. My first question, though, is to Mr. Chowdhury, because Mr. Chowdhury, I want to quickly put out details of what Shashi Tharoor has tweeted, and I'm sure we're all aware of it, but just to remind our viewers, our audience this evening, he says, Pervez Musharraf, former Pakistani president, dies of rare disease. Once an implacable foe of India, he became a real force for peace. I met him annually in those days at the United Nations and found him smart, engaging and clear in his strategic thinking. Rest in peace. And while he may be all of that, while he may be smart, he may be engaging and he may be clear in his strategic thinking, sir, my question is, he is also the same person who on his hands has the blood of 500 and counting soldiers, braves of our country as far as the Kargil war is concerned.
Yeah, Christian, first and foremost a disclaimer. Shashi Tharoor in his tweet is not reflecting the official position of the Congress party. He tweeted on his from his personal handle and it is his personal view. Though, however, I will not disagree at this point in time to whatever he has tweeted. Firstly, why I say? Because it was our honorable Prime Minister who landed in Pakistan on having biryani out there on the birthday of Pervez Musharraf. It is our honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji who invited Pervez Musharraf at the swearing-in ceremony. It was our own Prime Minister after the Kargil, Vajpayee ji. He held the Agra summit in India.
And what about Manmohan Singh ji?
You cannot blame entirely to the...
no, Mr. Chaudhary, what about Manmohan Singh ji?
He met Manmohan
if we're
Singh
talking
ji
about the
times.
Prime Ministers ever since Vajpayee ji, let's also include Manmohan Singh ji, no?
I am coming to that, ma'am. He tried to meet, he met Manmohan Singh ji 3 times, he met Vajpayee ji 2 times, he met Narendra Modi ji 3 times. But having said that, after the Kargil war, whatever happened, we blanketed Pakistan away from all our economic ties. But then on quarter
but neither
to quarter,
the Prime Minister
why was there
of the day, Prime Minister
5,000%
Narendra
growth in
Modi,
the trade?
nor anybody from the BJP has come out to call him a real force of peace, sir? Have we forgotten what happened in Kargil? Have we forgotten how they tried to push in infiltrators? Peak of winters is when this was planned, sir, and there were other generals who were also very well part of this entire conspiracy.
It's Christian, please, Miss Walia, please listen to me carefully. It's not a question of forgive and forget. We never forget what Pakistan has done to us. If possible, we'll wipe out Pakistan from the face of this earth. But the question is the hypocrisy of the Bhakt Mandali out here. On one way you are inviting Pervez Musharraf to India. One way you are going uninvited to have biryani. And once a member of the Congress party tweets in a condolence message, how low we can get. A person has died, whoever it may be. Even Hitler was condoled. So you can't expect.
No, firstly, it's quite unfortunate that on someone's demise we're being forced to have this kind of a discussion, but it's reactions such as that have come out from Shashi Tharoor and Mehbooba Mufti that have forced us to take up this issue once again today. But since you're raising questions with the BJP, I want Tuhin Sinha to come in and respond. Mr. Sinha.
Well, good evening, Krtisween. You know, we have always believed that if you don't have anything good to say about a person, it's ideally best not to talk about the person on a day of his death. That explains the conscious silence of most of our top leaders. But Shashi Tharoor's tweet has hurt the sentiments of millions of Indians today. To call Musharraf a force of peace is like calling the Mahatma a violent person. That is how blasphemous, that is how absurd the tweet of Shashi Tharoor is. And purely from a factual point of view, let me remind the Congress party that General Musharraf was the architect and the villain, the main villain of the Kargil war. And the Kargil war was an act of gross perfidy being planned at a time when Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji had really trusted Pakistan. 527 deaths of our brave soldiers, of brave sons of Bharat Mata, whose families continue to remain impacted. Just imagine what they would be thinking, how they would be feeling today after Shashi Tharoor's tweet. General Musharraf refused to take back his own dead soldiers who were ultimately buried with due honor by our soldiers. And moreover, let me also remind you that the series of bomb blasts which India witnessed during the early 2000s, which culminated eventually with 26/11, all of those started during Pervez Musharraf's era. Yes, we gave him a long rope because that was the thinking of that time, that we still need to engage with Pakistan. But when we realized during the Agra summit that he was simply beating around the bush, it did not take us long to just call off the summit abruptly. That is the integrity of a BJP-led government. Unlike the Congress, which till date cannot come out of its infatuation with Pakistan. And let me just 30 seconds more. This entire mentality of Congress is an extension of the obsession with Pakistan. It's an extension of the comments made by Mani Shankar a year way back in 2015 when he says aapki zarurat padegi, hame Modi ji ko dislodge karna hai. At one point of time, after we abrogated Article 370, Digvijay Singh was on a clubhouse chat with Pakistani journalists assuring them that we will bring back Article 370. So today's comment needs to be seen as an extension of that Pakistan prem of Congress party. Whoever Shashi Tharoor engages with in a personal capacity is his business, whether it is Meher Terar or whether it is Pervez Musharraf.
He must choose his words carefully.
A spin and to distort
must choose his words carefully because he is a leading politician, or rather a politician from the principal opposition party today in India, and may perhaps refrain from this kind of a commentary even if he wishes to do so given his international affiliations. And that's the big takeaway here and the big question that comes to light. Lieutenant General S.K. Dua, for everybody in the defense circuit today who will never forget what had happened during the Kargil war, the big loss that came in for all of us, including several of your colleagues, your juniors who were also a part of the Kargil war. We're all very proud of our brave hearts today, but how does it really make, a defense veteran today feel when political commentary such as this is witnessed? At a time such as this, like Tuhin Sinha said, refrain from commenting, do not choose to comment. If at all you're commenting, one can just go ahead with a condolence message. Why talk about him as the real force of peace or the only person who was bothered about J&K and bringing a solution to the Kashmir problem?
Krtisween, let me try and break it down in three different parts. Firstly, the man who's died, let us all give our condolences, offer our condolences because a man has died. May he rest in peace. But as an army chief, as a general, as a leader of his country, his legacy that at least India will always remember him by will be the Kargil war, the Kargil intrusion, where I have heard you all repeatedly speak of 527 brave hearts lost their life. It is not only the family of these 527. Let me try and remind you that there are so many more who were wounded, grievously, maimed. Somebody lost his legs, somebody lost his arms, somebody lost his eyes. There are so many other families that have been affected. And so many other terror attacks which can indirectly be then attributed to the kind of things that General Musharraf, both as an army chief and later as president, put into motion, where we lost so many lives. So someone who's perpetrated that kind of violence on the Indian state, on the Indian people, and especially on soldiers, I feel pained that any Indian citizen, let alone a leader, could call him a man of peace or any other words. I mean, you can offer condolences for a man's death, but not as a leader. And allow me one last thing. I said 3 things I'll talk about. When I hear people talking, I'm not into politics, but when we talk about, well, he was called over, yes, he did come, there was Agra summit. But then at that time, I think, this is with a disclaimer that I'm a military man, I think we were engaging with him as a president, trying to find better ways of doing things, because there he was wearing a very different hat. Well, that also did not materialize, and I'm glad it did not, because when he said his 4-point plan was to keep, one of the points was to keep Kashmir on a back burner for 20 years. What does that mean? If you keep Kashmir on a back burner for 20 years, they would have continued to support the terrorist groups, both financially and ideologically, continued to support the separatists. They would have actually mainstreamed them into our politics. So I'm glad we did not fall for that, even as I would see that as a ploy by a very wily and a crafty leader from the other side.
Glad that we didn't fall for it, Lieutenant General Dua. And the fact remains that all those lessons of, an attempt that perhaps India made to try and trust Pakistan, and having learned those lessons and perhaps sensed it at just the right time that we must not fall for their narrative, has led India today to take a clear position on how talks and terror cannot go hand in hand. And that's exactly why we are where we are today, and that's exactly why we're retaliating the way we are retaliating today. So why is it that these questions continue to be asked? Ravi Srivastav, have we forget the Kargil war? Lieutenant General Dua gave us a very detailed analysis on what transpired. What is it that, a soldier in the country today would feel when remarks such as this are made? But keep that aside for a second. Have we forgotten 26/11? Have we forgotten 40 of our brave hearts having lost their life very recently in the Pulwama attack? Have you forgotten all of that? Because there comes an admission that's been made by the same man on how Pakistan has allowed both Lashkar and Jaish-e-Mohammed to train their terrorists in Pakistan.
Krtisween, nothing is forgotten and nothing is forgiven. That's the principle. The first thing is, a man has died, and our culture says so, that may his soul rest in finally peace. That's more important. Issue here is that just after the martyrdom of 527 brave hearts and the wounded 1,500 our army men, as the general has said, where was the need for initiating the peace talks immediately after that? Why the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee was running a Samjhauta Express and a bus there and rushing to Pakistan, Lahore? Where was the need to call him to Agra, Maurya, Sheraton and call for a 4-point agenda, wish to good luck to India, that he did not sign that? I think Shashi Tharoor's statement is pointed to the extent as his own colleague, as his person who perceived him in his United Nations assignment. He said he was energetic and he was smart. I think that was the only 2 things which should be taken. And none other than that peace, Aman ki Asha is going on till date.
Sir, isn't that the best suited defense that the opposition jumps up with every time they go ahead and make these kind of insensitive remarks? That this remark was made by this so-and-so leader in his personal capacity. The party is not vouching for it. The party gives that kind of space to everybody within the party atmosphere to air their opinion freely. That's the one excuse that the Congress ends up giving out each and every time, sir.
Because it's
at the cost of hurting people's sentiments and their emotions time and again.
It's a democratic party. They don't behave like a Hitler in their party. They have not gagged the voices of their leaders. Everybody has a right to independently express his opinion.
Okay, everybody has the right to independently express their opinion, even if it is in connivance with anti-India forces, because here we have given the freedom to all the Congress leaders to speak however they want to, even if it is at the helm of hurting people's sentiments, even if it comes at that cost, and even if it is about praising a man like Pervez Musharraf, who was solely to be held responsible, the master strategist for the Kargil war. Ratan Chadda.
See, it's very strange habit of Congress to disown its own very senior leaders, right from Manish Shankar Aiyar to Digvijay Singh to Mr. Tharoor. So that is escapism. coming to the main issue, Mr. Tharoor is a very seasoned international diplomat. For him to make some statements, not a lightweight statement. And for Congress to froth at mouth if somebody talks about that, it also very in poor taste. He said something as a diplomat. He made a statement which was over the top, because see, it shows us why what is won in the war by our brave army soldiers, he lost on the negotiation table. They talked of Vajpayee ji, they talked of Modi ji and everybody. We have never criticized Indira Gandhi ji after winning Bangladesh, that handing over 93,000 prisoners of war without getting 53 our prisoners was back as a big blunder. It happened. We criticize it. We don't say what about that, because at the time that government is in power, they do certain things to buy peace for the people of this country, to negotiate peace. Every prime minister has done it. We don't judge that. We don't try saying what about. So this frothing out about what a government does with a party, political party's remark is in a very poor taste. And as far as Musharraf is concerned, do we remember Parliament attack happened during his time? Do you remember that IC 8114 happened during his time? Do you forget is that Haqqani and Osama bin Laden were heroes of Pakistanis? So he was a man of war. He was a man of Taliban. He admitted that they have trained Taliban. They have owned up Taliban in Afghanistan, and he has owned it up. So he was basically a man of war, man of conflict. He threw out Mr.
So
Sharif.
what so, Mr. Sharda, that his own country was never ready to welcome him back into the territory post 2008.
Just a moment. Whenever there is a peace, military creates a havoc in Pakistan. That is what Musharraf did when Sharif wanted peace. So Mr. Vajpayee talked with Sharif and he created Kargil. So this is the person whom we should recognize as a person who was a hawk in a dove's clothing. But we had people tittering when he was making jokes in Agra summit at the breakfast meeting. Our Indian generals are tittering, embarrassingly laughing there. Nobody stopped him from making fun of the leaders of this India.
Okay.
So we have that Aman Ki Asha weakness, that we want Aman Ki Asha. We have Mombatti Brigade who sits on the border and overlooks every kind of aggression of the Pakistan. So now to come here and saying shame, 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 this is hypocrisy of the first order.
Okay.
I am not going to raise my voice. I am not going to say anybody be ashamed, or I will not condemn Tharoor. It shows our weakness. As a diplomatic country, we have a weakness, and we give up.
The kind of message, Mr. Sharda, it may be sending across, that's also very worrisome here. Mr. Hydari, it's not just limited to what Shashi Tharoor said. Udit Raj also thereafter came out to say that what about what Vajpayee ji did? What about the attempt made by him and his government to go ahead and strike a peace deal with Pakistan? Ratan Sharda ji is just pointing it out in as many words that any head of the country would want things to settle, would want an atmosphere, especially between two neighboring countries, wherein we're not having to worry about another Kargil-like situation. But then you have the likes of Mehbooba Mufti, which is not surprising, of course. But why is it that these politicians, mainstream politicians in Jammu and Kashmir, fail to understand where the sentiment of the entire country lies today? She goes on to talk about deepest condolences, fine. Thereafter says perhaps the only Pakistani general who genuinely tried to address the Kashmir issue, wanted a solution according to wishes of the people of Jammu and Kashmir and acceptable to India and Pakistan. These are the same conditions which she's talking about, which by the way were turned down by Vajpayee ji.
Well, madam, firstly, Pakistan is the type of country which has made its old soldier die as a fugitive in exile. But I, being a neighbor from my cultural values, would say that may Allah grant him Jannatul Firdaus and may he give sabr to the bereaved family. See, after the Kargil backstab, where we lost more than 500 of our brave Jawans, Atalji gave 21 gun salute to the same Pervez Musharraf. And I'm thankful that that time RRR was not released. Otherwise, Atalji would have gone for a NATO with Pervez Musharraf. That was the kind of enthusiasm and aarti going on of Pervez Musharraf by the BJP government in place. So actually, all this margdarshan of how to deal with Pervez Musharraf or how to glamorize him and how to glorify him, it was all done by BJP. So Shashi Tharoor ji has only reciprocated as being a gentleman.
How was he glamorized by the BJP? In paying basic respects to somebody and not glorifying him, are we not being able to distinguish between the two, sir?
No, madam, soon after the Kargil backstab...
Nobody is saying do not put out messages of condolences. Nobody is asking you not to say rest in peace to Pervez Musharraf, sir. That's beyond humanity and we're not going to get down to that. But everybody is today asking you a basic question on how is it that the man behind the Kargil war, the main architect, the chief strategist, can be called the real force of peace, can be spoken of as the only person who wanted the benefits of Jammu and Kashmir people and wanted a solution to the Kashmir problem, which by the way is a problem that only Pakistan has.
Madam, I beg your pardon, Atalji and all other BJP leaders that time kept chanting for 3 days, Atiti Devo Bhava, Atiti Devo Bhava. Full day they would chant this for Pervez Musharraf.
Okay, Ratan Sharda ji wants to come in. Mr. Ratan Sharda.
Indira ji also. See, understand, as I said, every Prime Minister has tried peace talks. Mrs. Indira Gandhi, despite being the driver's seat of 70, when I talked about that she gave all the POWs, did not get our POWs back. It was diplomatic misadventure. We just criticized her. We didn't say what about. We didn't ask her to be ashamed. So let us understand the government, the Prime Minister in power is different from political power sitting on TV and talking bullshit. Okay? So let us understand this. So when you talk about Vajpayee, talk about Indira ji also. Talk about Mr. Shastri also. We respect Mr. Shastri. He gave up, he signed peace talk. Do we condemn him? As a government, as a chief of the government, their job is to bring peace. And for that they pay a price, which the country also pays the price, military pays the price, and we don't go shouting about shame.
No, Mr. Ratan Sharda, we're not going to make personal remarks. We're not going to get down to that road. But my final question is to Lieutenant General Dua to put this to rest, because we have to go by facts here. We have to talk about Lieutenant General Dua that in Kargil war, Musharraf played the role of the leading strategist. From March to May 1999, he ordered the secret infiltration of forces in the Kargil district. Do you think it's most unfortunate that all of this today is being sidelined and forgotten? Closing remarks, sir.
Thank you. Let's get back to soldiers' bravery. You know, what General Musharraf did, he, as a brigadier, he launched a special services group attack, a special forces attack on a post at Siachen as a brigadier. In fact, my battalion defended the repeated attacks on that particular post. That frustrated him so much that he eventually did this Kargil intrusion when he was the chief, and he tried to interdict the road, this highway from Srinagar to Leh, which also supplies all the logistics to Siachen. What he did was so heinous. I mean, apart from doing what I just told you, they did not accept back the bodies of their own soldiers, saying that it is your own mujahids who are doing this and this is not the Pakistani army. What kind of a man, I mean, an army general, whichever country the army may belong to, an army general, can he not accept an army officer or a superior, not accept the bodies of soldiers who fought for their own country?
And perhaps Lieutenant General Dua, his personal ambitions have to be spoken of here. That perhaps can be left for another day, because remember, like I started by opening up with regards to Operation Meghdoot, that's wherein he was looking at pinning down India, and that's exactly what India did not allow Pakistan to do. A full-scale war erupted after India discovered the infiltration that was attempted by Pakistan, and we know the result of the same. Lieutenant General Dua saying in as many words they refused to take back the bodies of their own men, which by the way, most of whom were para officers of the Pakistan armed forces. Very, very unfortunate what we're witnessing from some politicians in India today, though, calling on Pervez Musharraf as the real force of peace. Most unfortunate. Let's see how this plays out. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the first debate this evening.
The News Hour Special Edition.